So, how do you book 100 plus sales calls using Facebook ads alone? What ad spend do you need? What benchmarks you need to be hitting across the board throughout your funnel? What sort of a sales process do you need? We're going to be covering all that and more in today's video. Okay, so first things first, you actually have to map out your funnel or your sales process. I want you to actually visualize what are the key different components or steps that it takes to take a total stranger from seeing your ad to having them book a call. The reason why we do this is so that you can actually understand the KPIs that you need to be setting across the board. Ultimately, if you do this correctly, and I'm going to show you an example, if you do this correctly, this is going to help you understand if your ads aren't working, if you go log into your ads manager and you go see, hey, you spent $1,000 or you spent $10,000, however much you spent, and you see, oh crap, we don't have any booked calls, everything's broken. Well, no, not necessarily everything is broken. This will actually help you understand where do you problem solve for. If things aren't working to the degree that you need them to, this will actually help you understand what do we need to solve for. So here's an example. This is a very, very common but yet very simple sales process that you can use when you're trying to get more paid clients through Facebook ads, specifically calls being booked. This is something that we use for ourselves, for our own agency to get our own agency clients. This is something that we use for almost all of our clients as well. Very simple strategy where we're running Facebook and Instagram ads, we're promoting Facebook lead form fills, and then we are directing those lead form fills into a call booking page, where that call booking page will typically have like a VSL, like a video sales letter, maybe 10 minutes long, explaining a little bit more about the service and prompting the viewer to go ahead and book a call with them. Ideally, they go ahead and book a call, and then ideally they show up for that call and they become a paid client. But regardless, this is the sales process. So when we understand this, we can understand that what are the key components that are going to come into place here? Well, first you're going to have, under ads, you're going to have ad spend. That's pretty much it. Whenever I look at this, you could also, technically speaking, you could look at your clicks or your cost per click, etc. Facebook lead form, you could actually look at your number one, how many leads do you have? Then you could also look at your cost per lead. You can also look at your, I would say lead form submission rate. So how many total clicks did you have compared to how many total lead forms were actually filled out? Lead form submission rate, etc. Yeah, there we go. Cool. And then, your call booking rate. So then at this point, sorry, this is a little messy. We'll go ahead and clean that up a little bit. There we go. And then at this point, we're going to have how many total, I would say, calls scheduled did you have? And then we could also look at cost per scheduled call. And then, that's really the main things that you're going to look at there. You could technically look at your show rate, how many people are actually showing up for their calls. And you could also look at close rate, etc. Your cost per show, cost per close, etc. So those are that's why you want to map out your sales process so that you can actually understand your key, really your key performing indicators or your main numbers you actually want to track. So what do you do from there? Well, you reverse engineer and you do the math. This is really, really simple, but I think a lot of people neglect doing this. So ultimately, this is a little financial calculator here that you could use. And so we just have a few different scenarios. We have a conservative scenario, an average scenario, and an ideal scenario. So let's just say that you got $10,000 a month that you're going to spend on ads. And let's say that your cost per qualified lead is $25. And then from there, that means that, hey, really quick, just quick math here, we immediately can see that we're going to have 400 qualified leads. And then from there, obviously that's factoring in the total ad spend and the cost per qualified lead. And then your appointment set rate, let's just say that you're only setting 20% of the total leads into appointments. That means that you're going to have 80 appointments. That means that your cost per qualified appointment or cost per booked call is $125. So for the sake of this video, the title of this video, getting 100 plus sales calls. In this case, you just need to do 100 sales calls times 125 cost per appointment, and that would essentially be your ad spend that you would need to be spending, whether it's a monthly basis or a quarterly basis, etc., to get those 100 plus calls. And then from there, ideally, you should take it one step further, and you could go to the show rate. Well, what sort of show rate should you be expecting? All industries see completely different show rates. I'd say on the low end, I've seen some people have treacherous show rates down to 20, 30, 40%. I'd say industry average is around 60% across the board. And then some industries, when you have really, really good funnels and your market is not super saturated, oftentimes you can see maybe an 80 I'd say 80% close, or I'm sorry, 80% show rate. So then from there, you could actually look at, one step further, not how many total calls are getting booked, but how many total calls are you actually going to be conducting? Because that is a totally different thing. You can't close someone if they're not going to show up for that call. So then that's going to help you, that's going to spit out your cost per conducted appointment. That's probably going to be significantly more important to you, to be completely honest. So then obviously you can factor in, your close rate. Let's say you've got a 20% close rate, and let's say that you're selling a $10,000 deal. That means that, hey, out of the 10K in ad spend, you're going to be closing roughly 10 deals from those 48 showed appointments, and then that would mean that your cost per acquisition is about $1,000. Average deal size, once again, 10K. Hey, revenue, cool, you got 96K. Now, that is, I labeled that conservative. I'm not sure whether you want to consider that conservative, awful, good, whatever. Everyone's different. Obviously, if you're selling a $2,000 service, this becomes significantly more, I would say, conservative. This is no longer exciting to spend 10K and make 20, especially after you back out the, I would say, like the cost of doing business, like your cost of operations, your whether you have like staff or employees to be able to that you've got to pay, whether you have softwares you've got to pay for. Salespeople commissions you got to pay for. Obviously, you got to work that stuff in there as well. But I just wanted to make a simple version. I do have a significantly more complex version that factors in your your cost per unit sold and your commission rate and all of that good stuff. But anyway, just for sake of example, we just wanted to keep this simple. Now, let's go over a couple other examples here. So obviously you can see that these blue boxes, these are the things that I'm changing. These are the biggest variables that you have really ultimate control over whenever you're running your ads and whenever you are creating online sales processes. So let's go over another example, which again, let's just say that, hey, we're going to spend 10K in ads. And let's say that, hey, your cost per, for example, you can see I'm using qualified lead. I would say, your cost per lead, you might be able to get a way lower cost per lead. You might be able to get someone to fill out that lead form for, $5 to $10 to put in their name and their number and their email in there. We always factor in a couple custom qualifying questions. I've actually made a video on this already in the channel. You can go check that out. But ultimately, these custom qualifying questions should be actually asking people a little bit more to make sure that they are a potential good fit to work with you. So you might ask questions like we ourselves for our own agency last year when we were running ads, we were asking, is your business doing at least 7 figures per year in annual sales? Yes or no, / please do not proceed. We wanted to be very transparent about the fact that we do not work with people if they're doing less than 7 figures. And then we also had another question saying how much are you currently spending on your monthly advertising? And then it was a radio button or essentially a multiple choice, and they can go through. And so that way we could actually make sure that people are being pre-framed a little bit so they can see kind of the rough ranges of ad spend that we're used to working with. And they could also see that we typically work with people that are 7 figures or more. So we were getting lead form fills for about $25 cost per lead. But our cost per qualified lead, so the people that were actually saying they were at least doing 7 figures per year in their business, that was around $46. So I'm going to put $46 here. And then from there, hey, that means that, cool, you've got your 217 qualified leads, the people that you actually want to book calls with. And then your appointment set rate, totally up to you. There's a number of things that we can do to increase your appointment set rate. Some of the things that we do for our clients, we will write VSLs for them, usually 8 to 10 minute long VSLs that will describe a little bit more about what it looks like to become a client and a little bit more about their service and inviting the viewer to go ahead and book a call. That's one way you could get booked calls. And I'd say if you solely rely on that, you might be able to get somewhere between, 5, 10, maybe 15% of your total lead form fills might actually book a call directly through that process. So obviously, if you rely solely on that and you want to be super conservative, cool, you'd put 5%. I like to stack the odds in our favor and not just rely on that. So second option that we will do, we will set up email sequences as well. So that way it's kind of nurturing the leads after they come on in. And the email sequences are just telling a little bit more about, some of the case studies that the client may have. Once again, just inviting people to book calls with them. And it will continue to follow up for, I'd say about a week or so. And so that will get another X amount of people booked into your calendar. And we'll also set up we've got an AI system that we will use for most of our clients. And so the AI system will actually automatically text all of your leads immediately, and it will continue to follow up with them. And it'll be like, hey, Joey, just saw that you submitted your information and you were looking for whatever. You're looking for some details on this specific service. Would be happy to jump on a call. Would this time, or this time work for a quick call to share the deets with you? And that actually has a fantastic appointment set rate, usually around 25%. just like that alone. And so I only say this to say there are multiple things that you could do to increase your appointment set rate. So I think that it's very conservative I'd say like in general, 20% is very conservative, but we would say across the board, most of our clients are seeing at least 30%, sometimes upwards of 50% of their qualified leads actually booking calls with them. So anyway, there's that. And then obviously also you can, if you have a team, depending on your bandwidth, you can also be manually dialing these people, manually texting them, sending them selfie videos, etc. That's also going to increase that appointment set rate. So there you go. Cool. You've got 217 qualified leads, 65 of them now booking appointments. And then now your cost per qualified appointment is 153 compared to 125, which obviously that's technically worse. Because you can see that we just simply increased our qualified lead. And then your show rate, once again, totally up to you. There are a multitude of different things you could do to increase your show rate. Between, once again, I'd say like show rate sequences or like go attend sequences, whatever you want to call them, essentially email sequences that are devoted to send out to the people that are booking calls with you, that are going to them before the time that they actually have their call. These are not typically, like I wouldn't suggest just relying on like your Calendly reminders, but actually, sharing some more case studies with them and really more so instilling trust with them and getting them excited to actually go attend that call. So you can do some things like that. You could also, once again, manually dial them or send them a quick selfie video. You or your sales team can do that, saying like, hey, Joey, just saw that you booked a call with me. Hey, just wanted to personally introduce myself. I'm Zach. Hey, this is honestly, like, this is my cell phone. This is the same number that my mom's going to reach me at. Hey, if you have any questions, I see that you did book a call for tomorrow at 3 p.m. We'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions from now until then. Other than that, man, looking forward to speaking with you. Like something like that's really going to go a long way and really increase that show rate. So obviously you have control of your show rate. And then, from there, once again, you're going to have that cost per conducted appointment, your close rates, etc. Obviously, 16% is a pretty low close rate. Totally depends on your sales team's ability. Let's say, hey, 25%, you guys are pretty solid across the board. And cool, you're left with almost the exact same cost of acquisition. Now, once again, going back to the title of this video, 100 sales calls. How are you getting that? Well, obviously, I think you get the point at this point, but it's not so much about just the ad spend. It is about understanding your KPIs across the board. And then if you're trying to optimize for cost per appointment booked, that's one thing. I would suggest optimizing for cost per conducted appointment. And so then you just take that cost per conducted appointment and then you go reverse engineer based on how many booked calls you want. So obviously, if you've got one salesperson, you're trying to get them an extra 25 calls a week. Cool. You do need about, roughly 100 calls per month that are booked through this process. Hey, but maybe you've got 3 salespeople and you need 30 appointments on all of their calendars every single week. Now we're trying to solve for, 30 times 3, you're looking at 90 appointments per week times 4. Now we're looking at, 360 appointments. So then in that case, you'd say, cool, 360 on the, where's it at? 360 times 255. And you'd be looking at, 360 times 255. You're looking at $91,800 in ad spend is what you'd need. So anyway, totally depends on your business and a couple of those KPIs, but this is ultimately the way of which you solve for what you need to do to, number one, like how much you need to spend on your ads, but it also shows you ways that you can manipulate your cost per lead. And well, I shouldn't say cost per lead, but your cost per booked appointment. You can lower your cost per lead. You can increase your appointment set rate. You could also increase that show rate. All of those things, you have, once again, a multitude of things that you can do to increase the performance on all 3 of those areas. And then also, obviously, just simply increase or decrease the ad spend accordingly to really your cash flow and your goals. So hopefully this is helpful. If this is remotely helpful, I do encourage you and do please ask if you could subscribe, even like or comment on this video. Really does help the channel out. Do appreciate it. Much love, and I hope to see you in the next video.